Hey guys, this is Ken from Team Avalon. I am here with one of the members, Daniel. He is pretty much the strategic guy, always look at numbers, and he determined what's the best deck through numbers. You know, for me is different.
I'm the stats guy. I am also one of the sponsors of the channel, Avalon Accessories. Quick plug, if you need any dice or play mats or power markers, go check out Avalon Accessories. I'll link it in the description.
Yes.
But today we will be discussing the Project CCG case tourney from Set 8, which happened last week. So this is the first competitive event that we have in English with Set 8 legal.
Right.
This was a case tourney, $40 buy-in. We had 46 players. So you know that this is a decent competition since it's $40 entry. And it was case tournament, so which meant there was a case split amongst top 8.
Right.
So I think first place got 4 boxes, 8 boxes, and then it got split.
First place got half of a case, pretty much. Yeah.
So it was pretty competitive, and it was Set 8 legal. So this is our first peek into TCG metagame for Set 8.
Right.
So let's go ahead and just dive into some of the breakdown. So
Right.
this is the top 8 from the case tournament. It was held at Project CCG. It's a shop in Southern California. So if you're ever in the area, come swing on by. We'd love to have you.
Yeah.
So top 8, we had 3 Ava, 2 Youthberg, 1 Zorga, 1 Minerva, and 1 Tamira, which is kind of expected. You expect a lot of Youthberg, you expect a lot of Ava. Those are like, people think they're the best decks going into the format.
Ava is.
Ava is
the best deck.
And we will have stats to back it up.
Right.
And next we have the actual top 4. So we see that Ava took first and second. Third place was Red Zorga, and fourth place was Minerva. So we have deck codes for these 4 different decks, or 3 decks. And then we also have honorable mention. We have Tamira player, which provided their deck list. They were the only Tamira in top 8. So what do you think about the top 4 and this top 8, just based off of this?
Here's the thing. Like, you know, I was like expecting one of the decks to be like one of the top 3 decks in the whole entire game right now, but apparently I'm wrong.
Yeah, where's
apparently we're
Youthberg here in
wrong.
the top 4?
Right.
We saw 2 Youthberg in the top 8, but it just didn't convert well. So let's go ahead and dive into the stats a little bit more. Also, shout out to you, Fuzzy Paradox. Thank you for helping create these nice pie charts. I cannot do this on my own.
Yeah. So we have like 2 different players here because he, like I said, he is like a player that mostly look into numbers. And I'm a player that is played by feel and pretty much adapting of the situation. I don't care about numbers because I don't understand them, right? That's what he's here for. He's here for to pretty much try to explain these numbers to you, and hopefully you guys will understand it better than I will.
Yeah, and hopefully I think this is one of the first times, at least to my knowledge, for Vanguard having some sort of data sets to back up any patterns. What we've seen in the past is just pie charts showing like top 8, top 4. Doesn't necessarily tell us how the conversion ratio is. So we don't know how many players entered with X amount of decks. But this, I think, is one of the first times where we have all this data. So it's pretty interesting to take a look at all this. So let's go into this.
So also with this data that you guys gonna receive, you guys can think of your deck choices for Springfest coming up, because like I said, there's probably some decks that you expect, you know, to be the toppest of the top tier, but apparently coming from Daniel's number, he's not.
Yeah, so we'll go into that. But also, this is the first week where Set 8 was legal.
Right.
This does not have any Chrono Jet because Chrono Jet's not out yet. So when we get more information with that, we'll start putting it into the analysis. But for now, this is just Set 8, first week. Let's take a look at the numbers. So at the case tournament, we had 46 different players, which is a pretty good amount. And let's take a look at what was the most represented decks. So here we have the 2 most represented decks. Youthberg, top dog, 9
So
decks.
shocking.
9 decks. You would think you'd have a lot of Youthberg players coming off of Worlds. A lot of people brought Youthberg because they thought it was super competitive, and they're trying to win. It's a $40
Right.
entry, so they want to do well.
$500
Next-
deck, man.
Yeah. and
$500
then
decks.
Next we have Ava, also very highly represented. 8 decks out of the 46. We expect a lot of Avas too, tryhards. I am a Ava main as well, so I was tryharding at this tournament. I was one of those 8. And then we see slightly lower breakdowns, and next we have the decks with 3. So we have 3 Bav, 3 Minerva, 3 Zorga. Then we have 2 of each of the following. We have Barrow, Bruce, Doped, Eugene, and Heroes, each 2.
Right.
And then the rest is just, these look like just people bringing the decks they like to play. So we
For
have
fun.
For fun, or they think it was a good meta call. We got one of Flagberg, Nvidia, Chaos, Maelstrom, Michu, Nirvana, Orphis,
I mean, I don't know about
Dio,
Mer-
Prison, and Chimera.
I don't know about Nirvana though,
Oh, we'll see.
because
I don't think
I'm a
Nirvana's
Nirvana
that
main
good.
too. Because I play Jiva, and in my opinion, Jiva is not as good as it should be.
Jiva needs a CC, right?
It needs
That's
a
what it
very
needs.
good CC. I'm not just talking about cards that gives you CC. I'm talking about a really, really good CC.
Yeah. Well, we'll see.
Yeah.
So, anyways, this was out of the 46 decks. This was a representation
Yeah.
of the tournament. So now I'll go into a little bit how I broke down all this information. So what I did was talk to the tournament advisor, and I was tournament organizer, and I was able to have everyone just list down the deck category that they played.
Right.
So for example, we have, I'll just use myself, so I'm not doxing everybody. So here's me, I'm Daniel Yu, and I listed Ava, I played
Yeah.
Ava. And we have Ken as well. Ken was playing Youthberg, so we have
Right.
2 of the tryhards here. We all
Right.
tried to do well.
I
And,
couldn't, honestly, I couldn't play my Ava deck is because at that time my Ava wasn't complete. I was missing
Fair.
some cards, so I couldn't play. I would love to play Ava, but I couldn't. So I just went like, you know what? If I can't go with Ava, let's go with the second best deck, which I thought is Youth, but apparently I'm wrong.
Oh, we'll see. So anyway, so we had all the 46 players list out their decks.
Right.
And then what I did was I gathered all of the bracket info. So round 1 we had, let's say, Carpenter Carlton play Joshua L. And then we have the winner, which is Carpenter Carlton. We just tracked the decks, so we see that in that matchup it was Prison versus Eugene, with Prison as the winner. And we
Not
did-
surprised.
yeah, Eugene is for the Chads only, I guess. So
Yeah.
we have all the round data. So there was rounds 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we had 6 rounds of Swiss.
Yeah.
Then it cut to top 8.
Right.
Round 7 and 8 is top 8. So that
Right.
was out of all the games we had 100 and there's 178 minus this amount up here, which I use as a VLOOKUP.
Right.
I think it ended up being 136 games. So it's quite a lot of data. Very interesting to pull up.
Lots of games.
Lots of games. So now let's go into some of the results that we saw. So based off of all of the games, I was able to pull together some of this information. Most of the decks I categorized into playing as mirrors or non-mirrors. So in the mirrors, I think that there's some variance of player skill involved or other factors, but I didn't really want to focus on mirrors. So I wanted to count specifically non-mirrors, and I wanted to see how the win ratio and win percentage was for the non-mirrors. And we have it here all broken down. So we have all the decks on this side here. How many non-mirrors they played. So in this column here, how many non-mirror games. The win percentage for the non-mirror games. And then also here on these 2 columns, column D and E, we talk about how many players play the deck. So like I mentioned, we had 8 players playing Eva, and that represented 70% of the field.
Yeah.
So now let's go ahead and just break down some of this data and what does it mean. So what I did was I sorted all of the decks by win ratio, by win percentage, and if we take a look, all of these ones in green have the highest win percentage. Ones in yellow have in between like 50 to 60% win rate. All of the orange decks here have a 50% win rate, and then all these ones in red have a sub 50% win rate. And when you take a look at this little outline, this pretty interesting piece of data here, we have Youthberg played a total of 44 non-mirror games, so that's pretty decent amount of data.
Right.
It's actually the most number of games that was played throughout the entire tournament, non-mirror Youthbergs. And through these 44 games, Youthberg has a 40.9% win rate, which means if you're flipping a coin, you have a better chance to flip heads than to win if you take Youthberg. And now these Youthberg players, I don't think they're all slouches or like they're not all noobs. These are good players that bring a good deck into case tourney, $40 entry. A lot of these players we had representing top 8s in regionals and getting world invites. So these are like good players coming to this case tourney. Pretty statistically significant amount of numbers.
I always
44
knew
games.
Youthberg is a brain dead deck, right? Because I always say if you play Youthberg, you could be blindfolded or you could be blind and you can win. That's how I feel about Youthberg, because Youthberg doesn't take skill. I'm sorry for those people that take offended for that, but I'm sorry. But if you're playing Youthberg, you got no skill, okay? Because I play Youth. Because the thing is, on the tournament, it was my first time touching Youth. I never played Youth in my life. It's my first time touching Youth, and I managed to get top 8 with the deck. And this is with misplays.
Yeah,
So-
and the interesting thing is, so Ken was playing Youth, and he made top 8. So he was actually pulling up the win percentage. Even with him pulling up the win percentage is still 40.9%, which is like, theoretically, I would have not expected this, but the data doesn't lie. Youthberg
Right.
is not top tier. Definitively, within set 8, Youthberg is no longer top tier.
So
So now let's take a look, a quick tangent. Let's take a look at what did make the highest win percentage rate. Highest win percentage rate was Ava, 73% win rate, over 37 games. No surprise there. Ava is what I consider the best deck in the format currently.
Right now,
It
for right
has a lot of filter, has a lot of shield, has superior calling, advantage, basically has everything you need.
Multi-attacks.
Yeah, multi-attack, everything you need in a good deck.
front row board wipes,
No board-wise, consistency.
double crit you to death.
It's a good deck. So
Yeah.
now let's take a look at the other ones. So Ava was pretty good, 37 games, gives a lot of significance.
Right.
Next we have these guys, Orphis, Prison, and Bastion. They have a win rate of 66.7%, but if you notice, each of these were just a single player.
Yeah.
So this could just be they were a really good player. Maybe they just hit some good matchups because it's one player. This says that these are decks that you should look into. Doesn't necessarily mean that they're great. Just means they had a really good showing at this tournament.
That, or they just never ran into a top tier deck.
Is it possible? Yeah,
Right.
it's possible. We can take a look at the data a little bit later. We'll go on. Specifically, I'm looking at this Bastion player. I'll use that as an example. Next, we have Minerva. Minerva is a new deck from set 8 and did really well, actually. 63% win rate over 19 games. Pretty statistically significant. I think Minerva has all the showings for a good deck according to this data set.
Right.
Next category we have is the in between 50 and 60% win rate. We have Zorga, Dote, and Tamura. Tamura and Zorga both made it into top 8, so they did really well.
Right.
There are 3 Zorga players in this tournament, 1 Tamura player in this tournament, and they did really well. Great conversion ratios into top 8. These are also decks you should definitely look into when you're assembling your team for Springfest.
So I got a question again to you about this. So let's say, because you say Tomura is in the yellow, right?
Yeah.
So what do you think would happen if Tomura run into me and I was playing Youth?
Oh,
What do you think would happen?
We
So,
we can actually take a look and see exactly what that means. So this is a matchup spreadsheet. I made it kind of like a heat map. So how to read this is you have the deck that you're looking for on this column axis,
Yeah.
on this row axis, and then you have columns over here depicting the matchup. So for example, if I was to take a look at the Youthberg versus the Ava matchup, it shows that when I'm playing Youth and I'm playing against Ava, I have only a 16% win rate.
That bad, huh?
Which is pretty rough. And then you see the flip of that, the inverse. So if you're playing Ava versus Youthberg, you get this calm. So you see the 83% win rate.
See,
this combination should add up to 100%.
Right.
So we were interested in what? We were interested in the Youthberg versus Tamura matchup, right?
Right.
So let's scroll. If I was Youthberg and I'm going against Tamura, 100% win rate. This is a sample size of one game, because we only have one game with this.
Right.
But that's what we have. So in the one game sample set, we have Youthberg beating Tamura. So,
there you go. So that's.
So this is how one way that you can track what decks are good by doing the overall matchup reporting in general, which is overall win rate, and then you can also track specific matchups, which is what this type of chart helps.
Right.
So let's go ahead and finish up the round reporting before we get into the heat map.
Okay.
So we have the next category. These guys are all 50% win rates. Bruce,
50%.
Chaos, Maelstrom, and Flagbird, which means they're not necessarily that good. I guess if you were rank them in terms of like tiers, green would be tier A,
Right.
yellow would be tier B, C is orange, and then D tier, the F tier is here. So we have Eugene as tier E.
Which is shocking.
E for everyone.
Which is shocking. Eugene is
so
better than
actually,
Youthberg, guys.
Yes, even Eugene had a higher percent win rate than Youthberg, and it had a decent amount of games actually. They had 12 games of Eugene. So Barrow actually did pretty well out of the lowest tier. Barrow had the highest win rate, 44% over 9 games. I think Barrow is definitely. I like Barrow. I
think Barrow will be one of a contender in Springfest, because I feel like Barrows has a lot of way to counter against a lot of top tier decks. You know, just because like you just shove everything into the soul.
Yeah, Barrow. We had one of our teammates play Barrow actually for this event. Yeah.
Who was playing Barrow?
Angel is playing Barrow.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So, but the key takeaway out of this was right up here, Ava, best deck in the format.
Not
Second
surprised.
thing, Minerva is pretty solid A tier deck. And this little outline.
Man, dude.
This little thing here.
I mean, I thought I was just gonna go in and I'm just gonna bum rush everybody because I was playing Youth, you know, because everybody is afraid of Youth. Youth is one of those decks that everybody's scared of, but apparently Youth is not as good.
It's not that great. So let's go back and take a look at the top 8.
Yeah.
So this is another thing that we can track. So a lot of Vanguard channels or tournaments, what we get is we see the top 8, we see top 4, but we don't actually know how much of the field was represented and how well those decks converted in the top 8. So this is another measurement that you can do, which is just a conversion ratio. So basically it takes the total number of decks which were played, and then you see how many made top 8, and you see division. So 3/8, that tells us how much conversion ratio you get. So this is saying that you have a 37.5% chance to convert into top 8 if you are playing Ava. Pretty interesting. Youth has only a 22% conversion rate, but it made it into top 8 because we had so many. We had 9. It's the most amount of Youth players in this tournament.
Just one more than Ava.
One more than Ava. So these two are by far the most represented.
Right.
So if we go back to our deck count, we see that Youth and Ava have the highest representation. Everything else is 3 or less.
Right.
So we see Youth and Ava super high representation.
Which makes sense, you know.
People think they're the best decks in the format. So so now let's take a look at this conversion percentage. So Ava has 33% conversion. Youth has a 22% conversion rate. Zorg and Minerva, 33%, pretty solid. This one is great. This is our lone Tamura Chad, 100% conversion rate because we only have one player. He made it to top 8. But shout out to the Chad Tamura player. And then you can also do further conversion into top 4, which is the same thing. So you just take the number of decks in top 4, divide that by the total number of decks, and that gives you so we got a 33% conversion rate for Zorg and Minerva, and a 25% conversion for Ava. So that's just another way that we can use data to kind of understand the top's a little better.
Yeah.
So we've gone over that. I think the last thing we should go over is the matchup.
Yeah.
So this is the heat map. Tells you how certain decks perform. So if, for example, we're looking at Ava, this one had the highest win percentage overall, which we saw was 73%, and it has really good matchups into a lot of these rogue decks, Bastion, Chimera, Flagbird, Gravidia, but what we were interested in most was this one. Youthberg has quite a poor matchup against Ava, which unfortunately going into Springfest you should expect to see a lot of. It also only has a 40% win rate versus Minerva, which you also
Hey, you know what? Talk to the Minerva player that lost to me. Talk to him. See what happens.
Yeah. So if you're bringing youth and you expect to see a lot of Minervas and Avas, you're not gonna have a good time. You're not gonna have a good time. Ava here. This had a super high win percentage, so we see across the board it's pretty much green. It has these two. I had a loss to Bruce over one game lost to Dote as well.
Wait, so this is your record?
This is my record. This is me. I lost to a Bruce player as Ava. It was a little unfortunate. I went second against Bruce, and I couldn't find my third order up until my fourth turn. And my Bruce opponent, he went first, and he had 3 Persona rides, which all resolved. I just ran out of shield, so it was a little unfortunate. I couldn't find my order, my third order, even after hard mulling for it. But it happens. But that is so that's another thing that you should take into account whenever you take a look at these matchups. You want to take a look at the sample size. So over here, even though we have a 0% win rate of Ava versus Bruce, it was over a sample of just one game. So some of these things you also have to take into account how many games you can get. So I'll be posting some of this information up on Twitter if you want to take a look at the matchup chart. I'm not going to go into depth on a lot of these. The big thing that I wanted to go over was the Youth versus Ava, which we kind of covered. Other thing, actually, let's take a look at Minerva, because Minerva was a pretty good deck. Minerva is, if we highlight the row, Minerva's like pretty much green.
I mean, you can also zoom in. You can zoom in.
No, I zoom out to make sure.
No, zoom in so they can see this, so they can see the highlight of the deck.
Oh, they should be able to see it.
Okay.
So this is it's pretty much all green.
Yeah.
It has a 150% here. The only deck I lost to bad was Ava, which is over 4 games. So it only won 1 game against Ava. So if you're bringing Minerva, just try to dodge the Ava matchup, you'll be fine. That's what this says. So now the last thing I wanted to go over was we had a Bastion player, for example, which had a 66% win rate. Pretty good, right? You would think so. This is pretty solid.
Right.
So this is one thing that we do need to take into consideration anytime we're looking at stats. Bastion, let's take a look at what Bastion played. So we have all the games that Bastion played. We see that it won 1 game against Prison, 1 game against Maelstrom, 1 game against Gravidia, 1 game against Dote, and it lost to Bruce and it lost to Youthberg. So we see that even though Bastion had a pretty good win percentage, it played a lot of rogue decks. So 4 of its 6 wins were against rogue decks.
I mean,
and then
do
one
you
of
consider
its losses was to Youthberg, which is meta.
Would you consider Gravidia rogue deck? I mean, Gravidia is known to be just stacking crits on you.
In this tournament, it's a rogue deck. Representation of 1, right? We only have 1 player playing Gravidia. So in this tournament, it's a rogue deck.
Fair.
So this is just one other thing that you guys should all take into consideration when you're taking a look at the top 8 charts. So here, for example, we see a lot of Ava's, Youths, but that was because they had super high representation. You expect that.
Right.
But you have these Minerva, Zerga, and Chimera players, which actually had a much higher conversion percentage into top 8.
Right.
And then we had, in our top 4, we actually had 2 of them converted to top 4. So we have one player who is playing the Minerva deck. Jimmy, he's been testing Minerva for a while. So I know he's a pretty good player. He probably skewed the average up for Minerva players.
Right.
And we had one really good Zorga player, Ken from Ken TCG, I believe, at Frank's.
KCTCG, yeah. KCTCG.
KCTCG. So he has a booth at Frank's, but he's a good player. He was the guy that got third here here with his Zorga list. So I think that's all I wanted to go over was stats. Did you want to talk anything more about
I mean,
these stats?
like, cause I'm more of like, on paper, I guess, player. Cause like, I could see why, like, for me, right? I know why Youthberg is top 3. I could see why Youthberg is top 3, because of the stuff they can do. I see why they are. But coming from you, from your stats, is not. Apparently he's not top 3.
It's not.
But here's the thing, though. For me, also, I don't believe it's all. Yes, the deck is brain dead. But I also believe it has something to do with how good the player is.
Yeah, there's some,
Because I always, like, for me, I always say, like, it's not how good the deck is, it's how good you pilot it.
Yeah, that's true.
Because, when Eva first came out, Eva sucked.
Yeah, but now it has all the right tools.
But here's the thing, though. Back then, even though Eva sucks, people still play and people still could win with it. Because they just know how to pilot the deck better, right?
That's true.
So, for me, I feel Youth is in this situation where, like, he is so easy to win with, which kind of makes him top. Bro, you know half of that is me, okay? Half of that.
You didn't play 20 games.
Half of that is me.
You did not play 20.
But still, I
games.
help boost up youth numbers.
You help boost the numbers. So actually, I think Youth should be like closer to 40% win rate.
But here's the thing, though, like, because I also take the blame for this, like, because I do play, I think, 3 mirror matches with Youth. I lost 1 and I beat 2. So I eliminated 2 of them.
Some of them out from top 8. Huh?
Right, so I'll take the blame for that.
Yeah, I didn't cover mirror matches because that's more data to dive into. I didn't have time to get this video out. But I can go into that a little later. There are 4 Youth mirrors in this data set, and there are 8 Eva mirrors in this data set.
So that's
we'll go into that future video.
That's back to the situation where I was like saying, like, I was actually talking to you about that. If I didn't knock out, or if I did not eliminate the other Youth players, do you think Youth would be higher?
I think we would have had more. We would have had at least 1 more in the top 8.
Right.
But that's just purely due to representation. It doesn't mean the deck has a good win percentage. It means that you have a high representation.
Also,
high representation.
This is Vanguard we're talking about, right? Luck has to do with this.
Yep, there's always OT sacking, double crit, 6 damage heal.
Hey, that happened to me.
That happens, but that's why ideally you want to have a large data set where you have a lot of sets to compare.
Okay, so this is to people that doesn't understand Daniel's number, because I didn't understand it until he actually sat me down and explained it to me. He was using this explanation where you're like, oh, if there's like 60 players, right? And then if 60 of those people is using Youth, like, you would expect Youth to be 100%, right? Because everybody's playing Youth. So you're saying here, where there is 9 players, or 9 people is using Youth,
which is the highest representation. We have basically 20% of the field playing Youth.
Right.
We only got 1 Youth in top 8.
No, 2.
We have 2 Youth in top 8 and 0 Youth in top 4. And we have that conversion ratio, which was over here, top 8. Youth had a pretty dang low conversion ratio.
Right.
22% into top 8 and 0% into top 4.
Okay, so you're saying, like, if Youth is really as good as the deck as everybody think it is,
it should have a higher percent conversion ratio. And it has the lowest conversion ratio out of our top 8.
So you're saying this has nothing to do with luck, or like Youthberg being lost due to luck?
No, this is not luck. And the reason we know this is not luck is here. Let me zoom back out.
Okay.
So we see that this is the number of games played.
Okay.
This is the number of non-mirrored games.
Okay.
If you take a look, which deck has the most number of games played? 44 games of Youth. They were the most played deck throughout this entire tournament. So what's the chance of getting OT sacked 1 game? That's decent.
Right.
What's the chance again OT crit sacked 2 games? That's okay, decent. What's the chance again OT sacked 3 games? less and less likely. What's the chance to get an OT sack 44 games? Pretty unlikely. So as you increase the number of games, as you increase your your data set,
Okay.
you get a more and more accurate result. And 44 games is the most games we played with a
Okay.
40.9% win rate. Youth is definitively not a very good deck.
Yeah. Because also
Inset 8 meta.
Also, I mean, from experience from another local that I was participating in, I was using with youth as well, and I was playing against Eva. And in that game, in 3 turns, when I drive check, right? I drive check, no triggers.
Oh, I mean, that could be luck too.
Right.
But in the data set, we have Ava winning 83% of his games versus youth. That was over 12 games. So
Okay.
it's pretty big sample size. All
Okay.
right. I think that's good. I think that's good for stats. Why don't we just quickly go over some of its deck lists?
Right.
So this was the Ava in the top 4. Looks like they're using some of the new cards. We have this card, which is amazing for the deck, gives a big power consistency bump. Check top 5. Interesting thing was this player was using 4 Wavy Los. Wavy Los is a 13k booster and also a Soul Blast 2 to draw 1, so it's a +1. So it's a 13k booster +1. And interestingly, this player is also playing this guy, which is our grade 3, which pulls order if you have an existing order
Right.
onto your.
You know what I also noticed that this player doesn't play?
What?
That you and I will play?
Oh yes, this guy has no Bohemian counter charge. If you guys notice,
Right.
0 Bohemian. But
It's-
but I think he makes up for that with running this guy, because once you get your 4th order, basically it turns your grade 1 orders, turns them into counter charge.
Yeah.
So he's technically running his counter charge by running the grade 3.
Yeah.
So that's the Ava list. Pretty good. I mean,
No Secondo either, so if he goes against up a mirror, Eva versus Eva, he's probably gonna struggle a little bit.
in a long game, yeah.
Yeah.
In a long game, if the game
Definitely.
goes long, he'll run out of.
Yes. I mean, if you guys already don't know, both Daniel and I main Eva, you know, so we know a lot about Eva stuff when we talk about it.
We're decent. We played it for a long time, so these are some interesting
Yeah.
deck choices that you guys can take a look at.
Right. Oh, another thing, I do not agree with the draw triggers. I don't agree with it.
You know what this guy's playing. This guy's playing all gas Ava. No breaks, all gas Ava. He doesn't care if he's decking out. He's getting his order with his grade 3.
Look, okay.
He's not countercharging with mobile means. We don't need it. We're just getting orders. This is an all gas Ava deck.
Oh, I mean, he got 3rd place, right?
No, I think we have, let's see. He got 1st place.
Oh, he got 1st place.
First place. So
Shit.
all gas Ava. Maybe
So
it's the way to go.
I was right. So pretty much, you should do what I say. Just go aggressive. Like fuck everything else.
Yeah, maybe you just play all gas Ava.
Yeah, I mean it worked literally.
It worked.
Right.
This is the Minerva that got in top 4. This is most of the Minerva decks are pretty similar. There's only like 2 flex spots that people put in. This deck was piloted by Jimmy Jang. He's been playing Minerva for a while. Very good with the deck. He chose to play the Caribers up 4 for max consistency, and
sense.
also for drillings. And he chose to run draw triggers instead of fronts, just to make sure you maintain the hand for the Minerva discard. I think there's a really solid list. I think is probably the best way to play this deck.
So you think it has enough shields without running the fronts?
Maybe you don't need shield. Maybe
You don't need shields?
Maybe the point of this deck is just to get enough attacks off and win. So you
Right.
need to draw your combo pieces.
Right.
So you fish them with this guy, and you fish them with draws. So
Yeah.
maybe that's good enough.
Also, like, you know, the Minerva is one of those decks that if you high roll enough, you could attack 8 times if you ulti me.
Oh yeah, that's
a
pretty
really good
crazy
thing.
high roll. 8
Yeah.
roll, 8 attacks, but it is possible.
Yeah, it is very possible. I mean, given that the guy that I fought, he attacked me 8 times, and I guarded all of them, and he got shocked. And he was telling me, I was like, normally people would die like on the 6th or 7th attack. I don't know how you survive. I was like, to be honest, I'm playing Newsbird. I get cards in hand like crazy. Like, what do you mean?
Yeah. Tempest is pretty good, but apparently not good enough.
I'm so
So let's take a look at the last. This is the Zorga list that made the top cut. So this was Ken from KCTCG. He's been a Zorga main for a really long time.
Since the game first came out for Overdress.
Yeah.
Yeah, he been playing Zorga since the beginning of Overdress.
Yeah. So he's a long time Zorga main. Glad to see it coming to the top. I don't know too much about Zorga, so I don't want to comment too much. But here's his list.
He also topped in Worlds. No, not in Worlds. In BCS, right?
I think so. I think he probably had a top 8.
Yeah, he I think he got 4th place in BCS.
I don't know. I know he usually does pretty well.
Yeah.
But yeah, check out the Zorga list. He's a good player. I'm sure it's built pretty well. And then the last one here is a Tamura, which made top 8. 100% conversion ratio because we have one Tamura player in the field only. Let's take a look at what this Tamura is playing. Looks like he's running 4 of each of the dolls. 4 and 3, so not maxing out the grade 1 dolls.
Okay.
And you need this order. Fortunately,
Yeah.
it's promo hell for us here in the States or anywhere besides Singapore, actually, I think.
No, I mean this order is pretty much brought us back to the EVA order situation where like it's overpriced for literally like being a promo.
Yeah, it's
a
hard
very
to
important
find.
promo.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
it is important for the deck. You need to run 4.
Mm-hmm.
But if you can get 4, take a look at this deck. It performed pretty well in the case tournament. So,
Right.
that's all the decks that we have, and I think that's all the stats that we have. So that's all that I want to say for this video. Any other concluding
I mean,
thoughts?
being your numbers being what it is, Youth Berk is not good. All you guys that taking Youth Berk to Team League, you better bring another deck.
You can think about it. If you like Youth Berk, go ahead and play it. But Youth Berk, I just don't think is the best deck anymore.
Yeah,
Not
even though he
saying
got top 8, it's still not the best deck, right?
not the best deck anymore.
Damn, bro. That's so funny because like Youth Berk got top 8, but all the other decks that didn't get top 8 apparently is better than Youth.
Yeah.
Like Eugene.
Even Eugene has a higher win
Like
rate.
Eugene didn't get top 8. Like I don't even think he get anywhere, and apparently he's better than Youth. That's crazy.
Yeah, the data is data doesn't lie. So take everything with a grain of salt when you're looking at top 8s and top 4s. Conversion ratio is important.
Right.
Win rate ratio is important. Also, the sample size is important. So data is kind of nuanced, but
Right.
this gives us a more holistic approach and view of set 8 metagame. And clear thing that we see is Ava best deck, so make sure you have at least one Ava on your team when you go to Spring Fest.
Oh, honestly, I don't think that's gonna be a surprise. I'm pretty sure every single team is gonna have Ava.
I think they'll have Ava, they'll have the Chrono Jet as well when it comes out.
Right.
And then third one, probably look in these decks. Maybe you should also consider testing Lutetia. There are no Lutetia players here. I think that's also a decent deck to think about. But yeah, that's it for this video on Set 8 Meta and Project CCG's case tournament. So thank you everyone for showing up to the case tournament. Thank you Darren from Project CCG for hosting. It's a great event and hope that we can come back for a Set 9 case tourney and hope to see more
He said he's gonna
people
do
there.
it.
He said he's gonna do it, yeah.
He's gonna do it for every single set. Every single set that's gonna come out for Overdress, he's gonna make a case tournament for people.
Yeah, it'll be good.
Yeah. I think it's worth it. I mean, to be honest, I got a free Minerva box, right?
Yeah, well, you made top 8, so that's pretty good.
Yeah.
All right, that's it, guys. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.